One of the best things about this great city of New York is that it's a walking city. One of the primary reasons I live here is to have access to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I spent some of the greatest moments of my adult life there. I even proposed to my wife Katie there. And one of my routines is to walk from the west side where we live through Central Park to the east side where the museum is. Just a simple walking meditation, just good clear thinking, focusing on the sounds of walking, moving from one environment to another, always with the destination of the museum at the end. And what I love about the Met is how insignificant I feel when I'm there, as if I'm the employee of some much larger corporation. How many thousands and thousands of painters before me have done exactly the same walk over the centuries? The universe might be totally unknowable, but one thing you can rely on is that dirtball painters like me will continue to walk to the Met. I'm obsessed with the word reliability. A lot of contemporary art feels slippery to me, and what I look for in Antiquity is a sense of reliability and durability. One of my favorite pieces is this head of an athlete. It's a Roman copy of a Greek sculpture from 138 to 192 AD. And I'll just say it, it's the most handsome male face I've ever laid eyes on. I've had a man crush on this face for almost 27 years, and it's getting serious. What I love is it's the perfect picture of health and athleticism and sensuality. It's made simply to be seen. It's a celebration of seeing. And if you contrast that with this other favorite of mine, Head of a Cleric, it's French from 1460. This guy's a frigging troll, but at the same time, it embodies the kind of quiet resignation that one experiences when deep in thought. This is ascetic and clear-headed, and also slightly smaller in scale than a real human head, which makes it's both creepy and irresistible at the same time. What kills me are the veins bulging on the side of the head. How much did that sculptor love us to put that detail in there for us to see? So two heads from two periods, both about the celebration of seeing. Looking is simply gathering information. What we do as painters is invest ourselves in the process of seeing. Seeing is contemplating. Beauty lives in comparisons. You have to juxtapose things in order to discover beauty. And painting is so mysterious to me. The older I get, the less I understand it. It provides all of the conditions necessary to unbuckle from the ticker tape of daily life and simply drift. And to me, drifting implies drifting from something. And what I can't figure out is what my something is. I don't believe in paint for paint's sake anymore. I believe that I am representing something. I don't know what that is. Perhaps I never will. But I do know that the notion of observation is important to me, whether I toss a bunch of peppers down on a table or look at a human figure and try to render it. Something about trying to represent the three-dimensional world on a two-dimensional surface is the first step in bending the laws of nature to fit the laws of art. I paint to try to fuse observation and process into a third thing. Appearance is very important, looking at things, but painting, it goes deeper. Painting is about experience. My old teacher used to say, don't just create parts, but create into something, which implies substance and reliability. As if I'm trying to recognize something that I've never seen before. And painters have always known this. They recognize it on impact, trying to be reminded of something that we always knew but just simply forgot about. Like many of you, I have rituals, one of which is every morning in bed, as soon as I open my eyes, I give a word of thanks, a word of gratitude for waking up. Because waking up is neither my privilege nor my right. It's a gift. And perhaps the reason that I paint is to somehow exercise gratitude for that gift, as if this might be the day that my eyes open a little wider and stay open a little longer. It usually doesn't happen, but one can hope. In the late 80s, I worked in art galleries in Soho here in New York City, which is a great way to learn the business side of what we do. And I remember older artists who would exhibit there would come in and lay on this heavy sense of entitlement, as if they were entitled to exhibit and sell and be recognized for their work. I can tell you as a painter that we are entitled to nothing. Every single thing that we have to construct and maintain ourselves, because at the end of the day, no one really cares, which I find very liberating. I used to say that I paint only for myself, which is a lie. It sounds romantic, sounds great on a press release, but it's just not true. I am aware of a marketplace. I'm aware of the fact that I make things, commodities that are then bought and sold in a marketplace. I show in art galleries all over the country, one of which is on the corner of 5th Avenue and 57th Street in Manhattan. And if that's not an embracing of capitalism, I don't know what is. So I as soon as I sign a painting, it goes out into the world, and it never feels complete until it's acquired and stays out in the world. I never let anything out of my studio that's not up to the highest standard that I apply. But I also have a family to support. I have kids to send to college. I want to sell work. So I've been to shows in commercial galleries in Chelsea that castigate capitalism and claim to undermine the commodification of art. But always there's a price list on the desk in case you're interested. It's okay to be aware of a marketplace and to sell one's work. There is a marketplace, not only for things, but a marketplace for ideas. And I think all of that just makes us all the stronger. I don't believe that a painting can be about memory, since we don't know what the image looked like before, nor can we anticipate what it will look like. But the way that I think memory factors into the construction of a painting is in that we look at an image and then our eye scans to another area, carrying with it the brief memory of that previous image. And you can see I try to create a level of anticipation in the painting. This kind of dull area of rose magenta contrasted by this very cold cobalt teal and then a warm green below it. And then as I move across, it goes from cooler and duller to gradually warmer and more intense, leading to one of the climaxes of the painting. And because I want that little process of comparisons to be prevalent throughout the image, I try to work across the image. And what I mean is I don't work on one area at a time. I work across the entire image at all times, constantly backing up. One of the most important parts, as every painter knows, is getting back as far as you can. And if you don't have a big space, what I used to do when I had a tiny studio was I would use a binocular in reverse. But now with smartphones, it's much easier. You can simply shrink down your image and get some distance on it that way. You can also use a mirror and stand at the back of your room, look at the reflection of it over your shoulder, and that again both reverses it and pushes it a little further away. Oil paint is a versatile material, and the quality of the paint can really deliver your message. Here I'm using transparent or fat colors, oily colors, rose madder and alizarin crimson mixed with zinc white. And the result is very voluptuous, creamy, oily paint. If I want to reduce the oil in the paint or make it leaner, what I'll do is take a blob of paint, put it on a piece of construction paper or newspaper, leave it for an hour or two, and you can see where the oil gets sucked out of the color, leaving it stiffer, denser, and chunkier. That's a perfect type of paint to load onto a brush and then do what's called dry brush or scumbling, where you hold the brush at a certain elevation above the canvas and you skim across it, leaving a trail of very distressed, very etched marks, which give the impression almost of drawing or sketching rather than putting down a very fluid mark. The way I'll do it is I'll apply the load to the brush and then gently twirl it as I pull downward. Twirling it helps also give a certain momentum to the mark, and it really gives an interesting effect of something being weathered. Sometimes you'll see that effect in some of the Venetian painters like Veronese or Tintoretto. Rembrandt used it. And it's a really beautiful way to create sort of a denuded, distressed brush mark.
When my dad was about the age that I am now, 48, he was fishing alone on the beach in South Carolina, and he caught a $100 bill. And he pulled the soggy $100 bill off the hook with all the seaweed, got into his blue station wagon, and drove to the Western Sizzler, which is a steakhouse there. Ordered the biggest ribeye on the menu, got back into his station wagon, went back to the beach, and crouched on the cold, hard sand and ate the meat with his bare hands. And I remember the day after my first New York show opened, my solo show in New York in 1993, I went to the ATM down the street from my apartment in the Village, got a $100 bill, then went to Old Homestead Steakhouse on 16th Street, ordered the biggest ribeye on the menu, and then walked down into the Village, sat on a stoop, and ate the meat with my bare hands. And I did it for him. And it tasted like freedom. I'm sometimes asked when I got my big break. And certainly there are moments in my career which really counted. Meeting a certain collector, getting into a certain gallery, perhaps getting a review. I can tell you that none of those things really ended up mattering. None of those were the big breaks. There are no big breaks. They're only a slow accumulation of events over a long period of time. The most important moment in my career was when I realized that there'll always be someone who can do it better than me. When I stopped trying so hard. That to me was my big break. And I remember when I was, in grad school and slightly after, in my early 20s, and my friends were always working towards the goal of making it. It was always about making it. And I think it's important for young painters to when someone offers you tickets to the opera, take them. Or if someone asks you to help, their douchebag brother move boxes in a garage, do that. Or they give you tickets to a lecture on beavers at the Museum of Natural History, go there. See what life looks like. Those are the things that constitute a painter. And don't chase your work, in other words. Let your work come to you. There are no big breaks. There's never enough. No matter how much you get, no matter what tier your prices are or how much you sell or don't sell, none of it really matters in the end. Is the work consistent? Does the work continue? I think those are the things that really count.